I never thought I'd be the guy sitting here telling everyone I got played like a damn fool, but here we are. My name's Mike, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around how my wife, Laura, managed to turn what I thought was a solid marriage into this twisted nightmare. We'd been together for 8 years, inseparable, or that's what I believed, and in the last few months I started noticing things that didn't add up. She'd be more distant, snapping at me over nothing, and suddenly she was working late more often than usual, always blaming it on some new project at her job or some charity event she had to attend. I thought maybe I was imagining it, probably just stress from my own job, which is demanding but manageable. But deep down, I felt something was off. Then the signs got sharper. Little things. Her phone always face down, her disappearing into the bathroom for long stretches, and a strange, detached way she'd look at me sometimes like I was a stranger. She started brushing off my questions, told me I was paranoid, that I was imagining things. But I was. I knew something was wrong. I even caught her lying once. She said she was going to a friend's birthday, but I found her parked in a different part of town, sneaking around. When I asked her about it, she just rolled her eyes, said I was overly jealous and insecure. Yeah, right. That's when I started digging, trying to piece this all together. It wasn't until a few weeks ago that I stumbled upon something that knocked the wind out of me. It was during one of my scheduled duties for the climate reparation program, part of this whole environmental effort we got roped into. I was assigned to urban air purification, but I still kept my eyes on the satellite maps, just to check if anything else was happening. And that's when I saw it. These satellite images showing my wife, Laura, meeting with this environmental consultant, Mark, at these remote reforestation sites, clearly hiding from everyone, including me. The images showed them together, laughing, exchanging what looked like private documents, even kissing behind some bushes, all while I was out doing my duties, supposedly fighting pollution and cleaning the air in the city. How the hell could she do that? I mean, on paper we're supposed to be helping the planet, right? But she's out there cheating, breaking every damn rule of integrity with some guy who's supposed to be helping offset our carbon footprint. It was like a slap in the face. I couldn't believe it. I wanted to think maybe it was some mistake, maybe a misinterpretation of the satellite data, but I knew better. That image was crystal clear. And I knew deep down my wife wasn't just cheating on me. She was betraying everything we stood for, everything I believed in as someone who cares about the environment. How could she be so manipulative, so dishonest? And the worst part, I had no idea how long this had been going on, how many times she lied, or what else she kept from me. That day, I just sat there staring at the screen, feeling this mix of rage, heartbreak, and disbelief. I wanted to tear her apart, scream at her, ask her how she could do this while pretending to be this eco-warrior, this righteous woman. But I also felt completely shattered. My entire world was crashing down. I kept replaying all those little moments, her dismissive attitude, her secretive phone habits, her lies, and it all made sense now. She was cheating, and worse, she didn't even care about the damage she was causing, not just to me but to everything I believed was right. I didn't sleep that night. I just kept thinking about how I had trusted her, how I had been so blind to her games. I kept asking myself what I did wrong, if maybe I missed some signs, if I was just too stupid to see what was going on. The thing is, I wasn't just angry, I was devastated. It was like the ground beneath me had been pulled out, and I was left in this mess of betrayal and confusion. I knew I had to do something, but I wasn't sure what yet. All I knew was that my wife, Laura, was not the woman I thought she was, and I didn't know if I could ever forgive her for this. After that night, everything changed. I couldn't look at her the same way, and honestly, I didn't want to. The image of her and Mark at those reforestation sites kept replaying in my head. Her acting so casual, so comfortable with him while I was out there, oblivious, working my ass off to clear the city's air. It infuriated me. How could she sit there and lie so effortlessly? I started noticing the way she would deflect when I brought up her whereabouts, how she'd get snippy, dismissing my concerns with a bitchy smirk or dismissive shrug. She's always been good at talking her way out of things, but this time I wasn't buying her bullshit anymore. I decided I needed proof, something concrete. I started sneaking around, following her when she left the house, checking her phone when she wasn't paying attention. And sure enough, I found more than enough. Texts with Mark, photos of her and him at those remote sites, even some flirtatious messages I shouldn't have seen. It was like a punch to the gut every time I uncovered something new. She was cheating right under my nose, and she had no shame. She'd always been bitchy, dismissive, and lying through her teeth, but this was next level. One particular evening, I decided to confront her. I couldn't take it anymore. I waited until she came home late, obviously drunk from her charity event, and I told her I knew everything. Her reaction was priceless. She rolled her eyes, scoffed, and said I was overreacting, that I was paranoid. She called me insecure, said she'd never do something so disgusting, and then she looked me right in the eyes and lied again, claiming she never met Mark outside of work or the environmental programs. I knew better. I had the proof, and I was furious. How could she lie so easily? I felt like I was losing my mind. Her excuses were ridiculous. She said she was just helping him with some environmental project, that they were friends, nothing more. But I knew that wasn't true. Satellite images, secret meetings, flirtatious texts. It was clear she was lying. She kept talking, trying to spin some story about how she was just bored or maybe wanted some excitement, but I could see right through her. I felt my blood boiling. This bitch had been playing me for months, maybe longer. I was so pissed I couldn't even speak. All I could do was stare at her with a mixture of hatred and heartbreak. And then she said something that really broke me. She looked at me, eyes cold and sarcastic, and said, "You think I'd really cheat on you? Please, you're not even that interesting anymore." That was the moment I realized how much she hated me, how she saw me as just some last piece of stability she could throw away when she got bored. That comment cut deep. It was like she was trying to make me feel small, insignificant, and stupid for ever trusting her. I felt this wave of shame. How could I have been so blind? How could I have let her treat me like this? I wanted to punch her, scream at her, ask her why she thought she could get away with this shit. But I just stood there, silent, trying to process everything. I looked at her, so bitchy, so dismissive, and I realized I had lost control of my own life. The betrayal was almost worse than the affair itself. I felt this deep, sinking emptiness, knowing I'd been played for a fool by someone I loved and trusted. And I knew I had to decide what to do next. The truth was, I didn't even know if I wanted to fight for the marriage anymore. Part of me just wanted to burn everything down and start over, leaving her with the fallout of her lies. The next few days were a blur. I kept replaying the confrontation, trying to cling to some shred of clarity. My mind kept circling back to the satellite images, the secret meetings, the betrayal. I was angry at her, yes, but also hurt that I had been so naive. I started thinking about the kind of person she really was beneath that bitchy exterior. Did she even care about me, about us? Or was I just some fixture in her life she could manipulate? Every day I felt more distant from her, more convinced that I needed to do something, anything, to get some closure. But I wasn't sure what that was yet. All I knew was that my trust was shattered, and I'd never look at her the same way again. The more I thought about it, the clearer I got on one thing. I wasn't sticking around to be some cuckolded fool. Seeing her with Mark, watching her lie to my face, made me realize I had to take control of the situation. I started planning my move. The first step was gathering more evidence, documents, messages, anything that could prove what I already knew. I didn't trust her to come clean. She'd lie her way out of anything, so I had to be prepared for the fallout. I spent nights hacking into her email and social media, surprised at how easy it was to find her secret plans. She'd been meeting Mark in these remote forested sites, sometimes under the guise of environmental duty. But I saw her sneaking off with him when she thought I was out doing my part. That bastard Mark was even more manipulative. He played along like it was just some professional thing, but I knew better. They were sneaking around, pretending to be busy with reforestation projects while they were really doing whatever they wanted. I saw the photos, her leaning in for kisses, him whispering in her ear, both of them acting like they were so clever. That's when I got really pissed. I realized this wasn't just about some affair. It was about her betrayal of everything we stood for, our relationship, my trust, my integrity. How could she do this? I told myself I shouldn't be surprised. She's always been bitchy, manipulative, and good at hiding her true self. But damn, this was next. Level, she lied to my face for months, and I was just now seeing her for what she really was. A selfish, dishonest woman who cared more about sneaking around with some environmental consultant than she did about me or our marriage. I decided I needed to confront her again, but this time with proof. I wanted her to see that I wasn't some naive idiot anymore. I sat her down one evening, laptop open, showing her all the evidence I'd accumulated. Her face turned pale, then red with fury. She started snapping, saying I was stalking her, that I was crazy, that she hadn't done anything wrong. But I cut her off. Truth was, I had plenty of dirt on her now. The satellite images, the texts, the secret meetings. I told her that I knew about her and Mark, that I'd seen everything, and that I wasn't going to stand for her bullshit anymore. Her reaction was pure bitch mode. She spat back at me, calling me paranoid, accusing me of spying because I was insecure. She tried to brush it off, saying Mark was just a colleague, that I was inventing things in my head, but I wasn't buying it. I saw the way she looked at him in those pictures, the way she touched him. She wanted to get caught, but she was too arrogant to think I'd find out. I felt a mixture of rage and heartbreak. She'd lied to my face, and now she was acting like the victim. That's when I realized I was done being played. The emotional toll hit me hard. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. I was furious at her, disgusted, heartbroken, and a little bit relieved that I finally saw her true face. But mostly, I was just tired of the whole damn thing. I realized that trying to salvage this was pointless. She didn't care about me, about us, or about the environment we supposedly loved. All she cared about was her own selfish needs, meeting Mark at remote reforestation sites, sneaking around, lying her ass off. It made me feel sick that I'd ever trusted her, that I'd ever believed she was some kind of environmentally conscious, caring woman. Turns out she was just another selfish bitch who used her cause as a cover for her own cheating. That night, I sat alone, reflecting on everything. My mind was a storm of emotions: anger, betrayal, sadness. I knew I had a decision to make. Part of me wanted to blow everything up, pack my bags, leave her, and cut all ties. But another part of me wanted to see her squirm, to make her face the consequences of what she'd done. I wasn't sure what was right anymore. All I knew was I'd finally opened my eyes to the woman I thought I knew, and she wasn't the person I believed she was. She was a liar, a cheat, and a manipulator. And I didn't know how to fix that. All I could feel was the ache of betrayal and the burning desire to make her pay for what she'd done. In the days that followed, I felt like a ghost wandering through my own life. Every moment I wasn't working or trying to piece together what to do next, I was replaying everything: her sneaky glances, her bitchy attitude when I asked questions, the way she dismissed my concerns with that smug smirk. I couldn't get the images of her and Mark out of my head. It was like I'd been hit with a sledgehammer, and I was trying to figure out how I'd been so blind. I started planning my next move, weighing whether I should confront her again, pack my bags, or maybe just cut everything loose. I didn't want her to keep lying to me, to keep pretending she was this righteous environmentalist when she was out cheating with some guy who, honestly, looked like a smug, selfish prick. I knew I couldn't stay silent anymore. She'd already lied so much. I doubted she'd ever tell the truth unless I forced her. So I decided I'd catch her again, this time even more thoroughly. I knew she'd be careful, but I also knew she'd slip up. I started installing some secret recording apps on her phone, checking her online activity, and even bugged her car. The idea was to gather enough evidence to make a clean break, or if I decided to fight, to have the proof I needed. I also kept a close eye on her movements, following her when I could, making sure she wasn't meeting Mark again. It was exhausting, but it was necessary. I didn't want to be caught off guard again, not after everything I'd uncovered. Meanwhile, she started acting even more bitchy and dismissive. Every time I brought up her whereabouts or asked about her late meetings, she would snap back with some snide comment, calling me crazy or accusing me of paranoia. She was good at turning things around, making me feel like I was the one with the problem. But I wasn't stupid anymore. I knew she was hiding something, and I was determined to find out what. I just had to be patient because I knew her pattern. She'd slip up sooner or later. One day, I finally got an unexpected break. I caught her on a call with Mark. I didn't mean to eavesdrop, honestly, but her voice was loud enough, and her tone was unmistakable, flirtatious, teasing like she was already planning their next secret meeting. I heard her laughing about some urgent project they needed to work on together, and her saying how she couldn't wait to see him again. My stomach clenched. That was it. I had enough. I realized I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. I had to confront her once and for all. When she came home that evening, I was already waiting. I played her the recording, watching her face turn pale and then flush with anger. She sputtered, trying to deny everything, saying I must have misheard, that it was just work talk. Yeah, right, but I had it all on tape now. I didn't care what she said, she was caught red-handed. That's when her bitchy mask finally cracked. She snarled at me, saying I was obsessed, that I was crazy for spying on her. She called me paranoid and possessive, accused me of ruining what we had. But I didn't back down. I looked her in the eyes, feeling a mixture of disgust and rage. I told her I knew about her meetings with Mark, about her sneaking around behind my back. I told her I wasn't going to be part of her game anymore, that I was done trusting her, done pretending everything was okay. Her reaction was bitter. She yelled, called me controlling, and then, in a fit of rage, accused me of being unmanly, of not satisfying her anymore. That was the last straw. I realized how much she hated me, how she had no respect for what we had. I felt my heart pounding, like the whole foundation of my life was crumbling around me. I couldn't believe I'd spent 8 years with someone like her, someone so manipulative and mean. All those times I tried to be understanding, to fix things, to make it work. She was just playing me, pretending to be some eco-warrior, but really just a selfish, bitchy woman who couldn't care less about me or the environment. I was furious, but I also felt a strange sense of relief. I finally saw her for what she was. I knew I had to get out, but I also knew this wasn't going to be easy. The emotional scars were deep, and I was just beginning to realize how much she'd hurt me. The confrontation left me drained. I remember standing there, her yelling, my heart pounding in my chest, and feeling like I'd just been punched in the gut, harder than I ever thought possible. I knew I couldn't stay. Not with her lying, cheating, and sneering like the whole thing was some kind of joke. I looked at her, that bitchy smirk still on her face, and realized I had to make a choice, either fight for this mess or walk away and start fresh. There was no way I could keep pretending everything was okay after what I just uncovered. That night I didn't sleep. Instead, I packed my bag, gathering whatever essentials I could find. I had to get out of there before she could twist things around again. As I was halfway through, she came at me, trying to guilt-trip me, saying I was overreacting, that I was destroying what little was left of our marriage. She spat her words, calling me a jealous fool, claiming I was possessive and insecure, like I was the problem. But I knew better. I knew this wasn't some petty jealousy. This was betrayal on a scale I'd never imagined. Once I had my bag packed, I looked at her one last time. I didn't say much, just told her I knew what she'd been doing and that I was done. I told her she could keep lying, keep pretending she was innocent, but I had enough evidence to prove she was nothing but a dishonest, manipulative woman who didn't deserve my trust. I said I was leaving, and I meant it. I didn't want to be in some toxic, fake marriage anymore. I wanted to walk away from all her lies, from her bitchy attitude, and from the betrayal that had shattered everything I thought was real. I left that night with a heavy heart. The house felt cold and empty, like I'd lost a part of myself. I knew I was making the right decision, but it still hurt like hell. I couldn't believe I'd been so blind for so long. I kept replaying her sneering face, her dismissive attitude, and that moment when she called me insecure. It was clear she hated me, and I was just some obstacle in her selfish game. That realization hurt worse than the betrayal itself. I had trusted her, loved her, and she had used me like some pawn in her own little world. In the quiet days that followed, I started to process everything, slowly, painfully. I knew I couldn't stay in that toxic environment. That woman had shown me her true face, and it was ugly. I realized I deserved better, someone who wouldn't lie, cheat, or manipulate just to satisfy their own selfish needs. I also learned that trust is fragile. Once broken, it's nearly impossible to repair. But I also understood that I had to rebuild myself, that I had to find a way to move on without her. That was the hard part. Moving past the betrayal, the anger, the heartbreak, it was going to take time. Looking back, I see now that I was better off without her. I should have seen the signs sooner, but I was blinded by love, by the hope that she'd change, that she was worth fighting for. Turns out, she was just a bitchy, manipulative liar who used her supposed environmental causes as a cover for her own selfish pleasures. Honestly, I don't regret leaving. It's going to be a long road, but I know I'll be okay. I've learned a lot about trust, about the importance of listening to your gut, and about not wasting my time on someone who doesn't respect me enough to be honest. If there's any advice I can give, it's this. Trust your instincts, pay attention to the signs, and don't let anyone treat you like a fool. Because once they do, it's damn hard to come back from that kind of betrayal. Now, looking back, I realize I should have seen the warning signs earlier. That constant dismissiveness, her quick temper, the way she'd brush off my questions like I was bothering her. But love, or maybe just hope, blinded me. I kept telling myself she was stressed, she was busy, she was just distracted. I convinced myself it was all in my head, that I was overthinking things. But the satellite images, the texts, the sneaking around, that was the truth I refused to see until it hit me like a freight train. What hurts the most isn't just that she cheated. It's how she lied, how she manipulated her way through every conversation, how she dismissed my feelings like they meant nothing. She's always been bitchy, sharp-tongued, and extremely good at hiding her true motives. I was a fool to trust her as much as I did. I bought into her fake eco-warrior persona, thinking she was some kind of responsible, caring person. But she was just pretending to care about the environment, about us, about everything that mattered. Turns out, she only cared about her own selfish needs, sneaking off to meet Mark in some remote forest while I was out doing my part to help clean the air in the city. Leaving her was the hardest decision I've ever had to make. Not because I still loved her. No, that part died long ago. But because part of me felt like a failure. I kept asking myself how I missed all the signs, how I hadn't seen through her lies sooner. The betrayal cut deep, and I felt like I'd been sucker punched by the woman I thought I knew. But deep down, I knew I couldn't keep pretending I was okay with it. I had to walk away before I lost myself completely to her manipulations. Now, I'm trying to rebuild. It's not easy. The house feels empty without her bitchy comments and sneers, but I know I've gained something much more valuable, myself. I've learned to listen to my instincts, to trust my gut, and to never ignore the red flags again. I don't regret the pain it took to get here because it's made me stronger. I won't let anyone treat me like a fool again. And if I've learned anything from this whole nightmare, it's that honesty, respect, and loyalty are everything. Without them, you're just fooling yourself, wasting your time on someone who's only pretending to care. So here I am, single, wiser, and finally free. It hurts like hell, but it's also a relief. I don't miss the lies or the bitchy attitude. I miss the person I thought she was, but I don't miss the betrayal. I hope someday she realizes what she lost, what she threw away for some fleeting thrill with Mark. As for me, I'll keep moving forward, learning to trust again and making sure I never let someone manipulate me like this ever again. Because I deserve better. We all do.